You want more, you have always wanted more, but you have never stopped to ask whether the wanting is yours, or whether you're just running from something you refuse to name. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining, how do you know if your ambitions serve your values, or just your ego? Let us be precise about what we are actually asking. An ambition is a direction. A value is a standard. The question is not whether you have both. Everyone has both. The question is which one is driving. When you picture achieving the thing you want most right now, what is the first feeling that comes? Is it the satisfaction of having done something worthwhile? Or is it the relief of being seen as someone who matters? Be honest. That first feeling tells you nearly everything.
I would not be so quick to reduce it to a single feeling. The psyche is not that transparent, even to itself. What Epictetus is describing, that first emotional flash, is already filtered, already curated by the ego to present itself favorably. A person can genuinely believe their ambition is principled and still be entirely in the grip of something they have never examined. The shadow does not announce itself, it operates beneath the very self-knowledge you're trusting.
You are both assuming the person can step outside the ambition far enough to examine it. But if the ambition has been running long enough, it becomes the lens. You cannot use a lens to see the lens. The question you are both asking may not be answerable from inside the pursuit.
That is a convenient way to make the question unanswerable. I reject it. You do not need to exit the pursuit entirely to test it. You need only ask one thing. What would you do if the achievement came with no recognition at all? If no one knew, not a single person, that you had done it? Would you still want it? That test does not require mysticism. It requires honesty.
That is a useful provocation, but it has a flaw. A person can pass that test and still be ego-driven. The ego has many faces. One of them is the secret self, the one that derives its power from private superiority. I know what I have done, even if no one else does. That can be just as inflated, just as much a compensation for an underlying wound as public vanity. The absence of audience does not guarantee the absence of ego.
Jung is right that the ego adapts. But I think both of you are still treating ego as the enemy to be defeated. That framing is itself the problem. The moment you are trying to purge your ambition of ego, you have created another project for the ego to run. Now it is ambitious about being unambitious. The trap deepens.
So what do you propose? That we simply pursue what we pursue and call it natural? That kind of reasoning is how a man ends up spending 30 years climbing towards something he never wanted and calling it fate.
I am not proposing that. I am pointing at something you are both avoiding. The question is not whether the ego is involved. It is always involved. The question is whether the ambition has any life in it beyond what the ego needs from it. You can feel the difference, not by analysis, by whether the thing pulls you or whether you are pushing yourself toward it.
That distinction between being pulled and pushing is clinically significant. I have seen it repeatedly. The patient who is genuinely called towards something has a different quality of energy than the one who is driven. The driven person is always checking, always measuring distance to the goal, always watching for signs of approval or disapproval. The pulled person forgets to check. They are too absorbed in the doing to monitor the result. But here is what makes this complicated. Even genuine calling can become corrupted over time. A person begins pulled, and gradually the recognition arrives, and the recognition becomes the drug, and the original pull is quietly replaced. They may not notice for years.
And this is why I do not trust feeling alone as the test. Feelings shift. Feelings are persuadable. What does not shift is your behavior when no one is watching and when things go badly. Show me how a person responds when their ambition costs them something real. A friendship, a comfort, a piece of their reputation. And I will show you whether the ambition is genuine or performed. Sacrifice is not the point, but what you sacrifice for tells you what you actually value.
That is fair, but you are both still looking at the ambition as a fixed object to be evaluated. What if it is more useful to watch the quality of a person's attention while they are inside the pursuit? Someone whose ambition serves something real is still present to the work. Someone whose ambition serves the ego is always somewhere else, already at the finish line, already in the imagined moment of arrival. They are never actually here.
The inability to be present within the pursuit, that is a symptom I recognize. But I would add something beneath it. Why is the finish line so magnetic? Because the ego has attached its entire sense of worth to arrival. And the reason it has done that is almost always traceable to something earlier. A wound that said you were not enough as you are. The ambition becomes a repair project. And repair projects, by definition, never end because the wound cannot be healed by achievement. You reach one summit and the feeling evaporates within days, sometimes hours, and you are already scanning for the next one.
I have no argument with the existence of that pattern. I have an argument with what people do with that information. Jung, when you tell someone their ambition is a repair project, what happens? They take that as permission to stop. They say, I am just running from a wound, and they use that as a reason to stand still. But standing still does not heal the wound either. At some point, a person has to choose something and pursue it with clarity. Not because it will fix them, but because choosing and doing is what a person is built for.
I agree that the work must continue, but it must continue with eyes open. There is a difference between a person who pursues something because they have genuinely reckoned with their wound and still find value in the direction, and a person who has never looked at the wound at all and is running at full speed. The former can course correct, the latter cannot. They do not know they are lost.
You are both describing the same person at different stages. The person who has never looked, the person mid-reckoning, the person who has reckoned and kept going. What neither of you is saying clearly is this: the ambition that serves values tends to remain flexible. It can change shape without the person feeling destroyed. The ambition that serves only ego cannot bend. Any obstacle to it feels like an attack on the self because it is an attack on the self. The ego has become the ambition, and the ambition has become the ego. That brittleness is your signal.
Brittleness, that is the word. When a setback to your ambition produces the same panic as a threat to your survival, that is the signal. Because no external achievement is a survival matter. If it feels like one, you are not pursuing a value, you are defending an identity.
And the defense of identity is always the shadow's work. The more rigidly a person identifies with what they are trying to become, the more fiercely they will resist any information that complicates that picture. It is not stubbornness, it is terror. The ego will fight to preserve the image with the same intensity that the body fights to preserve itself.
Which is why forcing yourself to examine the ambition head-on rarely works. The ego defends too quickly. But in small, unguarded moments, when a plan falls apart, when recognition is withheld, when someone else succeeds at what you wanted, something true comes through before the defenses reassemble. Watch those moments, not to judge yourself, just to see what is actually there.
Watch, yes, but then decide. Watching without deciding is just a more sophisticated form of avoidance. You see the truth of what is driving you, and you either course correct or you do not. That choice is in your control. Everything we have been discussing is preparation for that choice. The choice itself is still yours to make.
I would say the choice becomes available once you can see clearly. Before that, you are not really choosing. You are executing a script you did not write and cannot read.
And the script does not require a dramatic rewrite. Most people are not being asked to abandon their ambitions. They are being asked to hold them differently, less like a destination that proves something, more like a direction that reflects something.
A direction that reflects what exactly?
What you actually care about when the stakes are gone, when there is nothing to prove and no one watching, and the work itself is all that remains. What is left then? That is the value.
You have heard the argument. Now hear the thing beneath it. The question was never really about ambition. It was about whether you know yourself well enough to trust your own wanting.
Most people cannot answer the question, does my ambition serve my values or my ego? Because they are trying to answer it from inside the very thing they are trying to examine. You cannot audit a building while you are on fire inside it. So here is what is actually useful. You do not need to dismantle your ambition. You need to watch how it behaves under pressure. When the recognition you expected does not come, what do you feel? Not what do you think you should feel. What actually moves in you? If it is disproportionate devastation, that is information. When someone else achieves what you are reaching for, do you feel genuinely glad for them, even underneath the sting of wanting it yourself? Or does their success feel, somewhere below the surface, like an argument against your worth? That reaction, if it is there, is also information. These are not character flaws. They are signals. They tell you that something in your ambition has been co-opted by a part of you that believes it is not enough. That belief is old. It was probably there before the ambition was. And the ambition cannot cure it, though it will keep trying. The wound and the ambition can coexist. You do not have to wait until you are healed to pursue anything real, but you do have to be honest about which part of you is steering. Today, pay attention to one moment when you feel your ambition activated, a competitive reaction, a desire for recognition, a spike of anxiety about being left behind. Do not explain it away. Just write down what the feeling is actually saying beneath the surface. What does it believe is at stake? That one honest sentence is where the real work begins.
The wanting is not the problem. The blindness to what you are wanting and why, that is the problem. You can pursue anything with full force and full honesty at the same time. They are not opposites. Know what is driving you, not so you can stop, so you can go further without losing yourself along the way. That is the only ambition worth defending. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Tribune, 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.